Oliver, first of all, what is the atmosphere like there today on this March 25th?
Well, the atmosphere is tense, judging by the numbers of people connected at any one time to the Telegram channels linked to the opposition. It's clear that Belarusians are watching very, very closely and with some trepidation as to what's going to happen today. The regime has made it very clear that it wants to nip in the bud any attempt to revive the protest movement. They have said that protests today are not allowed. There's been a lot of police movement seen around Minsk, and also in recent weeks there have been a lot of arrests, including people just being arrested simply in their homes, particularly of people connected with opposition media. They are sometimes sentenced, for example, to 2 weeks in jail, or they get a hefty fine. So the regime is clearly making it abundantly clear that it does not want to tolerate any revival of the protest movement. There have also been some more surreptitious tactics. For example, rumours were spread that there could be explosions today that could be blamed on the opposition. Or more subtly, perhaps, parent-teacher meetings in schools were scheduled for this afternoon, simply so that people who might otherwise be inclined to join a protest would be too busy to do so. And then this morning there were reports coming in from outskirts of Minsk that groups of people who were apparently drunk, wearing opposition colours, were walking around and in broad daylight putting up opposition posters, something that real members of the opposition or supporters of the opposition would never do in broad daylight. So people concluded that these must be provocateurs put there in order to deter people, to discredit the opposition, if you like, and to lend credence to Alexander Lukashenko's repeated baseless claims that they're all a bunch of drunkards and drug addicts. But it's not really things like that that are deterring Belarusians from protesting in recent weeks. It's simply fear. People know very well that to join a protest is to risk being arrested, beaten up, and according to numerous credible reports, potentially raped. As protest numbers began to dwindle late last autumn, police brutality only increased, and at the moment I think that many people who were protesting late last summer and into the autumn are now quite afraid to go out and do so.
So, Gulliver, given that very real fear that many people have, what tactics are left for the protest movement? How can they actually make their point heard while keeping people safe?
Well, the opposition Telegram channel Nectar, which is based in Warsaw, said today that it was probably not a good idea to try to organise a big march in the centre of Minsk, but called instead for various actions dispersed around the city and around the country. For example, at 6:30 p.m. local time, drivers are invited to honk their horns in order to show their opposition to Alexander Lukashenko. Nectar also invited people to set off fireworks at 9 p.m. in their districts. It remains to be seen how many people will follow those instructions, because the fact is many Belarusians have lost confidence to some extent, both in opposition bloggers like Nectar and in opposition politicians like Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, mainly simply because they are not here. Nectar is based in Warsaw, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya is in Vilnius. The fact is that most people who could claim to really have any leadership role over people who are against Alexander Lukashenko have either been jailed or forced to flee the country. And so it's hard not to have the impression at the moment that the regime has got the upper hand.
Gulliver, thank you for that. France 24's Gulliver Cragg in Minsk.